Hey guys, coming to you with another What's Next. This is on Robert Easter Jr., former lightweight champion, and my current number 6 junior welterweight at 140 pounds. Robert Easter last fought in October when he moved up to 140 for his first time and defeated the very tough, always game Adrian Granados by a hard-fought 10-round decision. Granados actually outlanded Easter, but Easter landed the better and more solid shots. And Easter wasn't afraid to go toe-to-toe with a guy like Granados, and I got to give him props for that one. He fought his ass off and got a 10-round decision, and nobody complained and said that it was a robbery. So, good, solid performance out of Easter. So now, we'll run through the top 10 and see what's next for Robert Easter Jr. Well, there was talks of Easter possibly taking on Chris Algieri next. That was talks like I heard in like January, but it never came to fruition. Easter's with the PBC, so let's see what the possibilities are. We start with number 1, undefeated, unified champion Josh Taylor. Taylor's not looking at a guy like Easter right now. He's got a IBF title mandatory due, and then he'll probably take an optional defense after that. Not sure. Easter will probably get a fight during that time span, so that's not going to happen next. Number 2 is unified champion Jose Ramirez. One, it's top rank working with PBC, so that's highly unlikely unless it's a big fight. But the main thing is Ramirez has a mandatory title defense against Victor Postal, and then after that, he's got his WBO mandatory against Jack Catterall. So this fight, no way it happens next. Number 3, former champion Regis Prograis. I mean, it's possible Prograis a promotional free agent. It's possible he could face a guy like Easter, but I don't think Easter wants to take a risk, not in only his second fight against a guy like Prograis. Prograis hits and hits hard. He's highly skilled, and, he's actually a guy that's flirting with moving up to 147. So would Easter want to take that chance? Would the PBC want to take that chance? I think it's unlikely, so I'm gonna say no to this one. Number 4 is Jose Cepeda. If Robert Easter wanted to get himself in the WBC rankings and go after a world title, Cepeda would be the logical choice because Cepeda's ranked pretty high in the WBC, but I just don't see it. Cepeda is a promotional free agent, so the fight could be made, but he's got a southpaw, kind of slick style. Easter's tall and lengthy, so I wouldn't completely rule it out, but I just don't see this as being the matchup that the PBC would want for Robert Easter, so I'm going to say no. Number 5 is Victor Postal. Now, Postal is technically, I think, with the PBC, but he's lined up to fight Jose Ramirez for the unified title next, so this one won't happen. Number 6 is Easter. Number 7 is former WBO champion Maurice Hooker. Wouldn't completely rule it out, but it's Matchroom working with the PBC. I don't see him coming together for this fight. Plus, Hooker is likely going to face Regis Prograis next. And also, Hooker's flirting with moving up to 147. I really think that's what he's going to do next, so I just don't see him matching up with Robert Easter. Number 8 is Kyra Relic. Now, this fight's interesting to me because I think this fight could happen. Relic is technically not with the PBC, but he's fought with the PBC with some of their fighters. Like, he fought Rances Barthelemy, back-to-back fights, and it was with the PBC on PBC cards. Now, Relic's coming off of a tough loss last year in the semifinals of the World Boxing Super Series. He got knocked out against Regis Prograis and completely dominated, but I wouldn't completely rule this out because Relic's worked with them before, and Easter's coming up in weight. I think Relic would consider it. I'm going to lean towards the less likely, but I think it is possible to happen because the PBC is going to want to put him in with somebody, and why not this guy? Like I said, I like Relic, but Relic, this might not be what he wants to do after what's going to be over a year off by the time the pandemic's lifted since he last fought, so I'm going to lean towards a no. Number 9, Pablo Cesar Cano. I don't see this. This would be PBC working with Golden Boy, and those two sides just are rivals. I highly doubt they face each other. Cano's trying to move up into WBC rankings, and Robert Easter's just making his debut, and I think PBC would want to keep him in-house and not take a risk against a guy with the pop of Pablo Cesar Cano. Plus, like I said, Golden Boy and PBC, not a great relationship right there unless it's a mandatory fight. So I doubt it. Now the 3-way tie for 10th. You got a rematch with Adrian Granados. I mean, if he had nothing else, he probably would, but I think it's a high-risk fight. He got a clean win from what most people say. It was a clean win, not a lot of controversy. So, but it was close enough to where why do it again? You know, but Granados is a PBC fighter, so I wouldn't rule it out. Rances Barthelemy, a rematch with him. Barthelemy, one, he's facing Albert Puello next, most likely. That fight was scheduled for the interim title, WBA title. But I also just think the PBC and the fans don't want to see Robert Easter and Barthelemy again. They fought last year. It was one of the fucking ugliest fights I've ever seen, maybe the ugliest fight I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. And it was just terrible. Terrible performance out of both guys. It ended up being a draw. I mean, but it was just a horrible, horrible performance. Neither guy was willing to engage, and it was just a bad fight, not a lot of punches thrown. And, I mean, I think the rematch, both sides would probably do more, and the fight would be better. But, I mean, I think it would be a desperate measure to take this fight. Plus, like I said, Barthelemy is fighting for the interim title next, so I don't see it. And then finally, Ivan Berianchek, former IBF champion. He's a Matchroom. This fight probably not likely to be made. Plus, it's a high-risk, low-reward fight. Berianchek is a fucking bruiser. He comes straight forward. He's not afraid of shit. Easter, he would struggle with a guy like him. Berianchek doesn't have a big name. It wouldn't be a guaranteed of anything big either if they fought now. So I'm going to say no to this one. So that's the top 10 for Robert Easter at 140. Now, what do I think he's going to do next? Well, I don't think he's moving back down to 135, but he is still ranked by a couple governing bodies at 135. And he's actually not ranked by any governing bodies at 140. So I guess the possibility of him moving back down, he is number 1 in the WBA at 135. So would he move back down? I guess with Gervonta Davis sitting there now, maybe. But I don't see it. I think, you know, he already moved up to 140, but I guess the possibility's there. But I think he's going to stay at 140. Now, what kind of fight? I mean, I would love to see him and Algieri. Algieri is a soft-punching 140-pounder, but he's got some skill. He just came back. I think that might be a good option for him, so I think he should push for that one. Outside of that, I don't know if there's any top 10 guys that are ready to be facing him next, because the PBC, especially if they keep it in-house, the PBC, you know, doesn't have a lot of guys at 140. So it's going to be tough to land a big fight next for Easter, but I think Easter's just got to grind it, so you'll probably see him against either Chris Algieri or a stay busy opponent, and then before a major fight with you know, either a final eliminator or a title fight. So that's it. That's the what's next on my number 6 junior welterweight in the world, Robert Easter Jr., the former lightweight champ. I hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.